Women of Reddit, what was your best, most exciting experience? Had with a fireman in his fire truck, then on his boss's desk. That was super hot. The first time I had with someone who was involved in kink. She was my first hookup after my breakup with my fiancé, and she had, as I later found out, had a crush on me for some time and was happy to see me post on the hookup app we had in college. I had been interested in some kink for a while, but with my ex-fiancé it had never panned out. Neither of us really knew what the hell we were doing and we gave up after an awkward incident involving ropes. Now, jump forward to this hookup. She was just excited to have someone she could trust to guide, so she, a sub, played her part very well and enabled me to be her dom for a few sessions while I learned the ropes. That said, this did open me up to the fact that I am, in fact, a sub, but the thrill of the dynamic, the experimentation and learning involved, and the general roleplay of everything made the whole short-lived friends with benefits situation absolutely mind-blowing. I've had with my husband in front of strangers. Definitely a thrill every time. What is the scenario like? A party of some sort. Someone else just asked the same question at the same time, so I'm just pasting the same response. We've gone to a local swingers club which has a big open room for couples. We are not swingers and don't join in with others or anything, but it's fun to go and watch or enjoy ourselves and have others watch us. I mean, at the risk of being a bit boring, all of them have been with my husband. I had 3 partners before him, and all of them frankly sucked. Granted, one of them was physically abusive, which definitely put me off for a bit, but I've also never been very and didn't feel comfortable with my now husband either at the beginning of their relationship. But over the course of our 7 years together, we've both had the opportunity to explore our mutual boundaries, try new things, experiment and get to know ourselves. My husband is especially good at advancing the situation when I'm in the mood to be worked up to more experimental experiences. We have a whole box of toys and accessories, blindfolds, ropes, etc., that we play with fairly often. Some of the most electrifying experiences have involved him doing and me playing with some other sort of toy, either with penetration or vibration up front. But by the same token, I've been equally turned on by super vanilla with him. Ultimately, I think it comes down to the heat of closeness, just both wanting each other to the same degree. When both of us are extremely turned on, we make music together. Slappy, slippery, jiggly music, but music all the same. One of my long-term girlfriends was a squirter, only she wasn't aware until our relationship. The first time it happened she was mortified admittedly. I was quite entertained. Eventually she got more warmed up to the experience, after it happening several times. During our she would have multiple orgasms. When it got to the point where she would squirt, her orgasms would leave her physically shaking and she would writhe with pleasure and overstimulation for the next 15 minutes or so. Good times. A couple of years ago I went to a club with a group of friends. At around midnight or so the club started giving long balloons to everybody, and my group and I started doing limbo, and a bunch of people started joining. A couple of foreigners came by, and one of them handed me his beer while he limboed. He was tall, blonde, and even through his clothes I noticed that he had an amazing body. When he was done with the limbo I gave his beer back with a smile. He smiled back and we started dancing. The music playing was reggaeton, and for anyone that doesn't know how to dance it, it's pretty much like grinding crotches to the rhythm of the music. He told me he was from Ireland, and he wasn't all that good at dancing, so I grabbed him by the waist and made him follow the rhythm of my hips. Then he suddenly grabbed me by the and lifted me from the floor. I was pleasantly surprised, and I grabbed onto his shoulders. At this point I could feel the muscles of his back and it was amazing. We started making out while he was carrying me, and it has been the best kiss I've had. Period. We danced, made out, and felt each other through our clothes for the rest of the night. We didn't had but it has been my most enjoyable experience so far. Op was probably looking for straight women, but it, I'm a woman. I had met a girl when I was with my first girlfriend, and broke it off with her for the new girl. She was beautiful. She had dark hair that reached her shoulders and incredibly endearing smile. The tension had built between us for 3 months, and as soon as I left my first girlfriend we just let everything loose. We were both pretty young, her 19 and me 24. She was a virgin when we met, and I remember the first time I was with her. She was so turned on she was literally shaking. I slowly undressed her while we furiously made out. She was such a good kisser, and she had the most beautiful breasts. I vividly remember the image of her when she was finally completely naked, looking at me with both nervousness and intense arousal. I kissed her and asked her if it was okay I touched her, and she just nodded wordlessly, and the sound she made when I first slipped a finger inside her. Goddamn, I miss having with her so much. It was really fulfilling. And emotionally, so passionate and always good. I don't really miss her as a person, but I hope she's okay. We had a really good year together. Guy the first had met on Gone Wild audio opened my eyes up to the fact that I was a full-blown humiliation, degradation kink sub and wasted no time proving himself to be an amazing dom with an incredible intelligence for finding all of my weakness and insecurities and making that part of our play, but always bringing me back up and doing appropriate aftercare. We met in person a couple of times and he drove me into an absolute rabid frenzy. Never met anyone else who could touch me like that or do the things he did or say the things he said off the cuff. I still have a deep-set attraction to him. He didn't have the traditional looks that most people seem biologically drawn to, and I'll be honest that he wasn't the largest of my partners, but I'd do anything for him. He literally became my living god. It was that intense for me. My former boss and his wife are polyamorous. 14 years of marriage. At some point they invited me to drinks and get to know me. It is a unique moment being penetrated while receiving oral best orgasm of my life. Oh, almost 2 years later and I'm still with them and still great. The first time I had with my now ex-fiancé. It's not an exciting story, it's just that the previous boyfriend, to whom I'd given my virginity, was absolutely horrible to me. I was scared of him, which led to being tense. And when we did have he didn't really care if he was hurting me or not. So when me and ex-fiancé first did it, I was like, wow, I don't know what Redacted was doing, but it was not this. Best. With a boyfriend on shrooms. Most exciting. Threesome with a bi person. I'm the kind of person who only hooks up with people I've hooked up with before cause I'm too shy to meet new people. I never had a one-night stand before. I have nothing against them, but I've always been kind of prude. I had just gotten out of a long-term relationship spanning nearly 7 years and I downloaded Tinder. I matched with someone nearly 22 years older than me and he invited me out for drinks that same night. I decided to be very brave and just went for it, and I'm so glad I did. He ended up actually being this beautiful, silver fox humanitarian lawyer who just flew back stateside. He kept complimenting how beautiful and witty I was, which I really needed considering my self-esteem was completely in the gutter at this point. We met up in Midtown, and after a few drinks he asked if I wanted to see the view from his apartment. Internally, I said, it, and walked 2 blocks away to his skyrise apartment which overlooked NYC and was so pretentious it even had its own equinox in it. The view was lovely, but the was even better. I felt so attractive at that point and I hadn't felt that way in such a long time. We exchanged numbers. He reached out to do it all again, but I was happy with my standalone experience that helped me get my mojo back. I recently ended a 1.5 year long hookup with this cop I met through my job. It was so exciting because from the very beginning there was never any awkwardness between us or anything. We were just totally comfortable from the start, and it was so hot. And OMG, eye contact through the whole goddamn thing. Every time. I still don't think anything could top the first time we got together when he came to see me before he had to go to work, so was in full uniform, and the second he was in the door he had me up against the wall, kissing me. Taking his uniform off was so hot, because I was wearing a flimsy tank top and he was able to fondle me, while I was forced to unhook all this shit to get at him. The anticipation was insane. Wow, I'm a straight guy and I think I actually understand the man in uniform fetish after reading that. I'm sure it sounds pretty standard to the random observer, but the best I ever had was on a regular night with my boyfriend after getting a little high. I'm a assault survivor and have a hard time letting go enough to really enjoy myself during and I've found cannabis to be very helpful in both restoring my libido and increasing pleasure. On this particular night I was feeling uncharacteristically confident. I rode my boyfriend until he came inside me. He had my consent to do so, of course, I'm super into that. And then he had me lie down with my eyes closed while he played with me with a riding crop. After about 20 minutes of teasing, he fingered me to orgasm. It was so intense that I could barely move or speak for about 10 minutes. He has magic fingers. My boyfriend and I loved SM. One time I tied his hands and then spanked him until his is all red, and I knew he was in pain because he was letting out painful screams and flinching. I continued and I was so turned on. Then he me hard, and that was the best orgasm I ever had.